11.2, the update on the 298 Michelago Road. Councillor Rose.
The Council A provide an update on Michelago Road, Michelago community on the progress of Council Resolution 18/25 with a plain English summary of the steps taken to date, intended next steps and expected timelines. This update is to be made available on Council's website and distributed via appropriate local communications channels. And B, provide a confidential briefing to all councillors on the legal advice received regarding the site at 298 Michelago Road as soon as practicable and no later than to the August ordinary meeting. Look, this is an ongoing issue. I know it's problematic because it's been going on for so long and we seem to be caught in some sort of terrible trap. But I keep on getting contacted by the Michelago residents, some of the 134 people that wrote letters about Michelago Road. And I suppose when I was thinking about the contact, I remember the wise words of Councillor Stewart once again, we need to go back to square one. And I looked at the pre-lodgement DA that was submitted to Council, and I thought therein contains a lot of the issues that we're currently dealing with today. So it is there are a range of issues that we need to deal with. And one of the challenges, and that pre-lodgement DA said various things that indicated this was going to be a site used for livestock, and the building pad for a dwelling and a horse arena and 3 dams and so forth. But when you look at the whole of the ground, it was just enormous and it was never going to be feasible to redo that easily. But I think in terms of the issues, there is a range of issues in the assessment report by Council that I obtained. And I think there are a range of issues that I think that were noted at the time, but including things that are language that said any impacts by requiring the developer to rectify any road degradation, and later on it says paid for by the developer, which related to Michelago Road, and that's one of the areas that has really caused major problems. So there are a number of those issues that were required in the initial development consent. So what we did in Resolution 18/25 was calling for an urgent independent audit of issues. Now, urgency always has a different view in different communities, but I think after 4 months, almost 4 months, we haven't really received any public update, and the audit committee is not meeting until August, and it might be many more months. So this is the community is saying to me, this is too long to wait in silence. And the CEO's response says it's premature to issue a public update, but I think I respectfully disagree with that because the motion doesn't seek to release legal advice and it doesn't preempt the EPA. It doesn't ask Council to make any findings or assign blame. It simply asks, in plain English, what steps have been taken since March, what are the intended next steps, and what is the expected timeline for a decision. So this is a minimum amount of communication for the Michelago community who really have been very badly impacted by this issue over a range of period of time. And we heard from them quite passionately when we're here in this particular location. They came all the way from Michelago to tell us about their concerns at the last meeting in Bombala. So I believe that this is just an important story of communication, and it's one of the issues that are raised repeatedly in our council survey findings. The fact that the communication with council is poor. It often takes 5 or 6 or 7 attempts before people get feedback. And so I think this just is a simple story to actually say, as much as we can tell the residents, here's what's happening. Part B is the story of really the legal advice, and we have a responsibility under the Local Government Act to oversee the council's performance. In fact, we're responsible for the council's performance under our governance responsibility. So basically, this is a very high profile and very sensitive matter. And I believe this is just a simple story to say, you know, we need to have a confidential briefing as soon as possible on this issue because the issue is of such significance to the community. And this has been with our lawyers for some months. It must be possible for us to get a confidential briefing. So, Mr. Mayor, those two things I think are reasonable. I put this to the council I think this one, Councillor Davis, is certainly going to vote for the over. So I can see the look in her eye. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, I hate to disappoint Councillor Rose, but I'm going to talk against it. And it's really around the resolution that was put up in March at Bombala, and was that we actually give courage to the ARIC committee to undertake the audit. ARIC committee only meets quarterly. And we also, in that resolution, to seek legal advice to actually investigate this issue. The legal advice, as we've been told earlier today, we're expecting a report in 2 weeks. However, that will go to the ARIC committee, for the ARIC committee to then look at in relation to the resolution. So we have created a process that's clunky and is going to take time because we have to fit in with the ARIC committee. I agree with you that the Michelago community need to be updated, but the resolution was really complex. We need to allow it to play out, and the ARIC committee should guide us on the next steps. And this current motion doesn't allow that to happen.
I moved the previous motion and I accepted Councillor Davis's wise amendment to that motion in the room where you are. The motion that was carried was for the ARIC committee to conduct an investigation into the adequacy of council's investigation into the complaints regarding the mine. Quite a different action to updating the community on the status of where council's at with the resolution. What we do with the legal advice is a different thing altogether. ARIC have asked to see the legal advice, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't take action in our own right when that happens. So at the last meeting, Mr. Murray advised council that a stop work order had been put in place on 298 Michelago Road. Just wanted to confirm if that was the first and only stop work order that had been put in place.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There are 5 prevention notices on that establishment, and they're still.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question.
Given the history of this, and councillors might remember that the operator allegedly advertised to take all sorts of fill into the property and referred to the property allegedly as a new tip spot. Did we ever come to a view as to whether or not it was in fact operating as a waste management facility?
Not to my knowledge. I'll have to take that, Mr. Murray, on notice.
I'll take on.
Take that on notice. Next question.
In regards to the water testing that was done apparently by council in November 2022, the results, I understand, demonstrated very small amounts of iron in the water and incredibly high levels of tin in the pit. That was in contrast to the reporting that was done by community members that actually showed extremely high levels of iron. Not surprising that it came out of iron ore. So I guess I'm wondering, has any retesting been done just to deal with the fact that the 2 water tests are completely opposite to each other?
No, the testing was done as certified testing, authorised, and by all the procedures that have to be done. And those water tests have been endorsed by the EPA, and they found them to be of no concern at all, given that the upstream tests and the downstream tests showed very little difference in quality and no risk to livestock or humans.
Thank you. Next question, councillor.
Has anyone considered the Aboriginal artefacts that were noted on the site, and whether or not they have remained protected? As I understand, they had to be under the development approval.
What's that got to do with the current motion that's before us today?
Oh, well, if I can get an answer to that today, I might not vote for the motion.
But even if you don't get an answer to that today, it won't be added in this actual motion. So
No, that's
on the motion. The motion doesn't say anything about artefacts or anything like that we have to provide to community.
Well, I'm trying to decide if I want to vote to provide an update.
I understand that, but stick to the motion, Councillor Williamson. Thank you. Next question.
Sorry, are you saying my question won't be answered?
I'm saying that it's not part of the actual business before council right now. It is not part of this motion. We don't have anything to do with that, but I'm happy to refer that to Mr. Murray if you would like to answer it, but it is not going to determine the motion today. If this motion gets up, that is not the question you're asking. It's going to do I determine if my questions are going to be answered about Aboriginal artefacts. It's nothing to do with this motion. So it won't actually change your mind. Mr. Murray.
I'll take the question on notice.
Thank you. Take it on notice.
Okay, if that's the way we're going to be, I won't ask any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hopkins.
I'm sorry, but I can't support this motion today because basically what it's going to do is add something a little bit superfluous to the resolution action sheet. We've already got a resolution in place which is very detailed in terms of asking ARIT to consider doing an audit, do the legal advice, get the report. We've already got that in place. So I don't understand what additional assistance or information that this motion is going to provide. So I'm sorry, I can't support it today because we've already got that in place and we're literally weeks away from having the update that we're asking for.
Can we add something in that which I was talking on previously about a report on the approval of that site from our planning department back when it was. I think this is where it needs to be sorted out because to me, there's been a bit of a layman on this sort of stuff. It just seemed stupid how they could have went through a process to be legally approved without being presented to the council the day. And I still go back to that, and I'm concerned about it. I think we've got to find out how that occurred. And we're beating once you get down to the bottom, the start of the process, then we can work out. It's very confusing sitting here, and the money it's costing council and the inconvenience it's cost the community. That we don't go back to the source to how we got ourselves into this situation. I just can't. And why can't we get a report? We must have it on record through the planning department that and how they approved it, and keep it simple again. And didn't come. And I was on council. I've been here since this amalgamation. This is when it was approved. And it never came to the council of the day. And it's been a very costly thing financially for the council and for the community out there to have to go through it.
When this DA was approved, it would have made all the difference if it had come to council. And it would have come to council if the neighbours, the people on that road, had been notified. But the consultation plan that was in place at that time did not say that had to happen. It was at the discretion of the officer. And given that it was done right in the middle of COVID, that decision was made by that person to not notify the residents of the road. We as a council then went back and fixed the consultation plan to make sure that could never happen again. But that is what happened at the time. And that is why we're in this situation now. So hope that helps.
No, well, that's good clarification for me. But yeah.
Thank you.
Expensive exercise.
I just asked another question.
Sure.
I think that I appreciate what Mrs. Booth is saying, but I think we're at odds because the issue is not the legal advice. I think what Councillor Stewart is referring to is council's own processes. So there's a legal advice about the story, and then there's also council's own processes, which can be reviewed internally. Did we meet our own processes? Councillor Higgins has said yes, we did, because people weren't notified that they didn't have to be. So those are the sorts of things that actually I think Councillor Stewart's asking about, which is separate from the legal advice about the situation of how the DA came about. So that's a separate issue from the motion, but it comes up.
It is.
The second point, I think, is...
Are we asking a question?
Yes. The second question is about whether the restoration of the road that was required as part of the DA has been done.
I'll refer that to Mr. Murray.
The restoration of the road. I'll take that to notice.
Thank you. All right. Would you like to write a reply?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would.
Thank you.
I think, look, I think this, we can't give this too high priority. I'll use a word for Councillor Hopkins that she uses. This is about optics. I think there's a sense in the Michelago community that council hasn't been on the ball about this. We dropped the ball, then we picked it up, but then it's been shoved down the line. And so this is a really important issue for the Michelago community, and they feel as though they've been not heeded, that the issues taken to date have just been pushed the issue down the line. And I agree that some of the issues here are covered in the resolution. They wouldn't have been if council had been prepared, if Councillor Williamson had been willing to accept my great amendment, which was a simple one. The motion was going to be, councillor stuck this up and we're going to fix it. Then it would have been it became far too complex. But I think that's still the essence of the issue. Council did stuff this up and we need to fix it. What I'm hearing from the Michelago community is that they're failing to get information. They don't know what's going on, where it is. So I just believe that, firstly, a progress report issued when we have some information, which should be soon, and then also a confidential briefing to councillors, because there was no reason, even if the report of the legal advice is provided to ARIC, there's no reason why we shouldn't, as councillors with a governance responsibility, receive that report and receive legal advice. So I believe the motion is a reasonable one. And I'll make just the final points is this is about communication. It's not about non-disclosure of legal advice. We have passed a motion, so this is about follow through. The third thing is that a high-level public update is still appropriate, even though we're in a process of legal review. A confidential briefing to councillors is a must for us, and this part of our governance responsibility. The Michelago community has been patient about this, but they're very frustrated about the whole process that's happened around this mine and the steps that happen afterwards. It's been a painful, difficult process. I remember Councillor Badrock, Mr. Badrock being here speaking to us. I still can remember, you know, the pain and the difficulty as he spoke to us back here. In fact, Councillor Eric was so concerned he ran out to see him afterwards because he was concerned about his well-being. And so I think this is a minimal approach for us, and I do think this is just a way of saying to the Michelago community, we do care, we do understand that this has been a painful and difficult process, and we are highlighting it and putting it up front and centre so that we do get the information as we get it, and it's not just hidden behind a long-term bureaucratic process. So I think from optics, we really do need to vote for this motion, and it's good optics for us because there's no extra requirements for council. It's a very simple process. Mr. Murray is a wordsmith. He can do this in 5 minutes. So I believe this is a very sensible motion that I believe that a number of councillors will change their mind on, because the difficulty is what it will look like if you vote against the motion. That's what I ask my fellow councillors. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well done, councillor.
With that, I put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Stewart, Councillor Rose, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Higgins, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Rooney, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Hannah. All those against? Councillor Summers? 4. Councillor Summers 4. Councillor Davis, do you want to vote against? I know. Against.
I voted.
Okay, we're voting against. Thank you, carried. Moving on.